Hey, everybody, welcome to the Wellness Wednesday with Fun Saver Network. We do this every 2 weeks with Dr. Dwight Lundell. Uh, we love doing these calls. He is gracious enough and comes on every 2 weeks to sit around and kind of like a campfire talk in the middle of the day with the members that we have here in Fun Saver, because we understand a lot of you are very interested in trying to stop that addiction called sugar that's wrecking your body. And who could be better than to do that than a 25-year heart surgeon that spent 25 years learning everything about why sugar is wrecking your body, and why he was having to cut people open was because of sugar and the addiction that it causes. So without further ado, I want to introduce to each and every one of you fastly becoming somebody I am becoming very friends with and learning a lot, by the way, the 25-year heart surgeon that knows a lot. Dr. Lundell, you can unmute. Can you hear me okay?
There we go. We unmuted.
There you go, Dr. Lundell. Welcome. Hey, first of all, let me say this, Dr. Lundell. Thank you so much for taking your every other Wednesday and the time out of your day and coming in here and spending the time with us, talking about your product and talking about your experiences. And if you would, sir, if you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about yourself and your experience, then we'll move right into our subject for today.
All right. Thank you. So, as Ron mentioned, I spent 25 years in the operating room. I did over 5,000 coronary bypass operations. But as my career went on, I began to see that most of these people had normal cholesterol, and some of them would come back for a second operation, even with the normal cholesterol. And I began to think, it was coronary bypass is a dramatic procedure. It had some risks. It had rewards. People were able to return to their families and activities and all the rest. But it's a big deal. It's more than a scratch, shall we say. And I began to think, what's really causing this? Because it's obviously not cholesterol. And over the years, the medical literature has continued to prove that it is not cholesterol. In spite of that, your doctor has been misinformed, had bad information, and part of the reason is that your doctor he or she might care a lot, but when we went through medical school, if it was published in the New England Journal of Medicine or the Annals of Internal Medicine, it was gospel. We could believe it. And so Big Pharma, when they discovered cholesterol and a way to treat cholesterol, poured millions of dollars, millions and billions of dollars into producing research papers, which they claimed showed that cholesterol was the cause. And they even had the famous Lipitor commercial said lowers the risk by 34%. Well, that's what's called relative risk, and it's a fib. The real risk was less than 1%. So I'm not blaming your doctor for putting you on a statin if your cholesterol is a little high, but I'm telling you, my advice is don't take it. It won't do you any good, because that is not the cause of heart disease. More and more research papers are just showing that elevated cholesterol, in fact, as old as Ron and Clyde and I am, the higher your cholesterol at this age, the longer you live. And so it just struck me wrong. And so I began to look at what really is the cause. And the real cause was, in 1999, a big article came out, said arteriosclerosis is an inflammatory disease. Mm-hmm. Well, then, and they proved the white cells were there, all the signs of inflammation inside the blood vessel. And so what did we do? We tried to create a medicine to reduce inflammation because it was an inflammatory disease. Well, that didn't work either. And so I asked the question, well, inflammation follows injury. You don't get inflammation without an injury of some kind, be it physical, be it chemical. And so what's causing injury to these blood vessels that is creating arteriosclerosis in the heart and everywhere else? Well, I took a little look at the diabetic patient we treat, and they have a unique set of problems. They go blind, their kidneys fail, we cut off their legs, and then they die of coronary heart disease. So to me, it was quite obvious that it was sugar, not cholesterol. And we know the mechanism. The little lining of the blood vessel is a cell called the endothelial cell. And most cells in the body can regulate the amount of sugar that come in through what's called a GLUT4 insulin receptor. And the endothelial cell, which is lining your blood vessels, all 60,000 miles of them, has no GLUT4. It cannot resist high sugar. And so the sugar goes from the bloodstream into the cell, overloads the mitochondrion, produces lots of free radicals, and causes injury to that cell. And if the cell is injured and dies, then a little blood clot forms. And the blood clot, just like if you cut your skin, a blood clot forms. And so a blood clot forms inside the blood vessel. It might be tiny. And then the red cells, which are part of a scab, like you've had a scab on your skin, the red cell is just full of cholesterol, LDL cholesterol. So when you do a biopsy of the blood vessel, you see lots of cholesterol. And so you say, well, that must be the cause. Well, if you have a small fire, there's one fireman there. If you have a big fire, there's 100 firemen there. So by the same logic, firemen cause fires. Firemen cause fires. So obviously not true, and obviously it's very faulty reasoning. So, the American Heart Association a long time ago turned from a little professional organization to a charity because they got a bunch of money through a fundraiser from Procter & Gamble, who's the maker of Crisco. Crisco's the origin of seed oils. And so they had us replace lard and bacon with soybean oil, and Crisco was actually made out of cottonseed oil, which was a waste product and toxic. And they got approved, went to market without a single test of any kind to see if they were harmful. Now, happily, the Robert Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr., is now raising awareness of the toxicity of seed oils. And they're important because they accelerate inflammation. So, and high carbohydrate diet accelerates the injury, accelerates the inflammation. So I've said the 3 C's of bad health are Coke, Crisco, and cornflakes. So foods that fall in those categories are what's making the world unhealthy. So, and as we, I tried to get the hospital to change. They didn't want to hear it. So I said, well, I'm going to prove that my theory is correct. I retired from surgery after 25 very busy years, opened a clinic, and proved that we were on the right track. Then we got the idea, some colleagues and myself, and had the idea that if we could spread this word far and wide over in just a little clinic, we could help more people. And so then we created a small company to produce a heart healthy product. And then as time went on, I began to still be trouble with this, that we weren't quite hitting everything we needed to do to reduce blood sugar and help people get off their medicine, help people be healthier. And so that's when I began to say, we need to do something to change the addiction that we have for sugar. And indeed, it is an addiction. The same areas in the brain on a PET scan light up with sugar as light up with cocaine. And we all have had the same experience of going somewhere to eat and we're not hungry, we're overweight, we're not hungry, but we feel compelled to go eat. We feel compelled to have 2 slices of bread before our dinner. We feel compelled to have a dessert, even though we don't need it. So it's no question, it's an addiction. So I began to look around and say, what can we do to help this addiction? And the idea came to me that if a cocaine addict no longer gets a buzz or reward from cocaine, they're not going to risk their freedom and their life to go out and get cocaine. They're just not going to do it. If there's no reward, then we're not going to take the risk. So I began to research ingredients that might help lower blood sugar when we eat sugar, and we all eat it. Carbohydrates are absolutely not essential to life. There's essential proteins, there's essential fats, but there's no such thing as essential carbohydrate, meaning we can live without it. We make our own sugar if we need it. At any rate, so I began to look at what could I do to reduce the reward from sugar and help people overcome their addiction and then change their behavior to consume less of the carbohydrates. And there's lots of things out there. There's lots of nonsense, and the internet is accelerated a million times. But I chose 3 main ingredients: IDALG, which is a extract of a seaweed harvested off the coast of France, and then a green coffee extract. Now, green coffee is beans that are unroasted, and so we take those beans and we extract the material out of the green coffee. And then, being in the Southwest, next door to Mexico, there's an old remedy used by the Indians for a long, long time to help control their diabetes, and that was the prickly pear leaf. So research the dosages, research what we need to make it safe and effective, and we came up with real weight. We had in it the green coffee extract, we had in it the IDALG, and we had it in the prickly pear. We added a few vitamins and minerals just to make sure we were covering all of those bases in terms of vitamins and minerals. But the big 3, the thing that make real weight as effective as it is the green coffee, the prickly pear, and the IDALG. So that's real weight. It's been very effective. And how does it work? How does it work? Well, once again, when we have sugar, our blood sugar goes up, which is normally, and our body tries to control the amount of sugar in our blood, and so it pumps it into the cells. And we've been talking a lot in the news about ultra-processed foods. That just means the sugar is broken up into smaller and smaller pieces, so we have to eat more. It gets absorbed faster, it gets digested faster, and gets to our bloodstream faster. So the idea then is to slow down the digestion, the absorption, and the metabolism of sugar so that we control the sugar spikes which feed our addiction. Now, the green coffee affects the transport of glucose across the intestinal wall, and it affects how it's metabolized once it gets in the cells. The seaweed affects lipids, that is fats, in our diet, and if we have a little fat with a carbohydrate, it absorbs in our bloodstream slower. And so the IDALG affects the lipids in our intestinal tract and slows down the breakdown and absorption of sugar so that it doesn't just smash and rush into our bloodstream. And as I say, the prickly pear was an old remedy for diabetics and the Indians. And so luckily for me, and luckily for lots of people who have got healthier and lost weight on real weight, that little formula worked. Now, I tried to change it once, thinking on another couple of ingredients which I knew were effective, and we added them in, but they didn't work. And so this real weight, which you're going to have pretty soon, is the original, brilliant, immodestly brilliant formula that we did way back when we started with an experimental group in 2011, and then brought it to market that a little later that year once we proved our pilot project was effective. And so Real Weight was born and was very effective, and to our great satisfaction, it worked.
That's amazing. I mentioned to you earlier that I had a birthday yesterday. I turned 64, and you were just talking about Crisco. I'm sitting here thinking I'm lucky to see 64 because people my age, when I grew up in the South, we had that big blue can of Crisco, and everything we cooked in that cast iron skillet, you put a big whopping of that Crisco in there and let it turn to grease, and you cooked everything in it.
Yeah, Procter and Gamble, which brought that out, and the Procter and Gamble were two guys from England who ended up marrying sisters in Cincinnati, Ohio, which at that time was called Porkopolis because it was the hugest processing plants for pigs. They were candle makers. And one day they looked up and saw a electric street light, and they said, "Oh, our candle business is going to go away." And because they were making candles out of pig lard. And so some of their competitors cornered the market, and they were out of their raw ingredient to make the candles. So they started looking around. They went down the Mississippi River and discovered cottonseed oil, which was nasty. The cotton gin was dumping in the river, and it was a nasty stuff. But a fellow in Europe had figured out a way to make this liquid cottonseed oil into a solid by bubbling hydrogen through it. And it was white, and it was solid, and it looked like lard. And these guys were very clever. They began to market that heavily with cookbooks all around the country. And then they bribed the Heart Association to say they were healthier than animal fats. And so that's led us on a serious downhill slide.
Oh my.
But Grandma didn't have Crisco. Grandma had bacon on the side. And my father was a chemistry teacher. And he tried to explain to us, we were in elementary, junior high school when this first started, margarine came out. And margarine was nasty. At that time, it came in a nasty white bag. And there was a little capsule inside of it that was yellow. And so you broke the capsule, mixed it all up to make it look like butter, because the butter folks wouldn't let them make it yellow. Well, ultimately, they lobbied enough to get that regulation eliminated. And so now the margarine is there and it's yellow, but it's full of seed oil and it's nasty stuff. Eat butter. Eat butter. Use lard for your cooking.
Well, let me ask you this question. So when you discovered the three ingredients that you wanted to use, and you've already explained what they are, and you explained exactly how they work, and then you put them together, how long did it take you to put this together where you had it where you wanted it?
Oh, I took 4 or 5 months looking at hundreds of ingredients and trying to find a combo that would work. And but I only did this one formula. It came, I knew the right amounts we wanted, and I knew how to put them together. So this was our first formula, and knock wood, it was effective.
And you found it to be effective by running a testing group, correct?
That's correct. We couldn't take it to market without showing that it worked, and so we recruited a small group of people, 10 or 20 as I recall, and gave them a blank unlabeled bottle, and told them to take 2 capsules before lunch and 2 capsules before dinner and see how it worked. And to our great satisfaction, it worked wonderfully.
And I guess how did you test? How did you do testing to see that it worked wonderfully? Was it blood test, lipid panel, or what was it?
Well, we did one experiment with the green coffee, and we went to a place of business, took their blood, gave them a big soda with lots of sugar. I said we took their blood, gave them the sugar, and tested their blood. The next day we came back, gave them green coffee extract, then gave them the sugar, then tested their blood, and the results were pretty darn dramatic. Now, so that's the only quote unquote scientific
Uh-huh.
experiment that we did. Otherwise, we went empirically, knowing that it wasn't toxic, knowing that it wouldn't hurt anybody. We went ahead and did our experiment on a group.
So the green coffee extract alone showed a huge difference in the glucose in the blood when you did the test.
That's correct. That is correct.
And a
So we
period
knew
of
then.
time, I mean, okay, so you went in and you tested the blood, you gave them a Coke or whatever it was, you fed them sugar. How long did you wait to give them the green coffee extract and then take the blood again?
Well, we gave them the green coffee before the sugar.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's just like we recommended 30 minutes before. So
Okay,
we gave them the green coffee and then waited 30 minutes and gave them
sugar.
the sugar.
And then how long did you wait to test that blood?
Another 30 minutes,
Okay.
which is pretty much if you go for a glucose tolerance test at the
Yep.
doctor's, it's about that. They do 2 or 3 blood tests over about an hour.
Yeah. So that's the A1C, right? Where you get that A1C report, 90-day A1C report.
Well, A1C shows you what the average blood sugar is over a period of time, and it measures the sugar in a red blood cell, and red blood cells live 90 days. So A1C gives you the average over a 90-day period of time.
Okay. Now, so you've put this product together and you found that it worked tremendously and you found that it helped decrease the absorption of sugar or whatever I'm not medical, I'm just doing my best here. But so you tested it and you loved it and you put it out, but I got a question for you. What I'm hearing you say, people that suffer in today's world with this thing called type 2 diabetes. And I happen from it, it said type 2 diabetes is brought on by what you put in your mouth. That's how that happens. And it's very hard for people, even when they know they have it, they've gone through pre-diabetes. It's very hard for people to change their habits when they get older with type 2 diabetes. With it being so dangerous, you just don't feel it immediately. So my question to you is this product called Real Weight, is there hope to help people with type 2 diabetes?
There is. When you take sugar, your body tries to control it in the bloodstream and it secretes insulin from your pancreas. The insulin then drives the sugar into the cells, attempting to keep the blood sugar in a normal range. And over time, just like anything else, the cells become resistant to insulin because they're full. We don't want any more. We can't take any more. Go away. Excuse me. So even if we have insulin, lots of it, the cells become resistant to it and just won't take the sugar anymore, which then leads to prolonged high blood sugars, which once again damages our blood vessels, damages our brain cells. You can find papers all the time calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. And I just saw some papers the other day talking about the cellular effect in the brain of high blood sugar.
Also, Dr. Lundell, even I have read reports that this type 3 that you're talking about I have also heard that metformin, when you take metformin, one of the biggest side effects is exactly the type 3 that you're
I'm sorry, I missed that. One of the side effects of
of the
metformin is,
metformin. Is
yeah,
exactly what you're talking about that they're calling type 3.
yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. And what is the first thing they want to give you when they figure out that you're pre-diabetic or you just became type 2 diabetic? They want to give you metformin EX 500 milligrams.
Right. That's the first line of therapy.
Yep.
The and it's pathetic, it's sad, it's funny, pathetic that some doctor didn't say you should just cut down your sugar.
Yeah.
They never say it unless they're really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just cut down your sugar. And I remember the first time I faced that phenomenon in 2014, and I was prescribed metformin 500 EX. The doctor told me, we're going to start with this. And the reason we're going to start with metformin, because your body can take metformin and it doesn't depend on that medicine, and your pancreas completely shuts down. He said, when we go to other medicines, your pancreas is going to go, well, I don't need to work anymore.
Well, that's partly true. The type 2 diabetes ends up with the pancreas working too hard. It
Mm-hmm.
keeps pouring out the insulin, trying to control the sugar. But the cells have become resistant to it because they're full, and they said, no more, we can't take any more. So the pancreas works really hard, really, really hard. And when you go from type 2 diabetes to progressing to type 1 and needing insulin, that's just the pancreas is just worn out.
Mm, mm, mm.
Now, there are other instances when type 1 diabetes is caused by an autoimmune reaction or an immune reaction of some kinds that destroys the pancreatic islet cells. But for the most part, people have progressed from type 2 to type 1. They've progressed from prediabetes to diabetes to type 1 when their pancreas completely gives out.
Okay. Okay. So we have hope to help people with type 2 diabetes. I'm glad you said that. So, but with the protocol of taking 2 of the capsules before breakfast and 2 of the capsules before dinner or lunch and dinner, either way, it's 2 prior. In one day, it's 4 capsules. Um, my question was going to be, is there, of course there is, but is there an added protocol to doing that can help you even more tremendously? Because listen, I know you cannot, just because you're taking these 4 capsules a day, you can't keep eating what you're eating if it's awful. I mean, you shouldn't. So my question to you is the capsules, and I kind of compare this to a person that's having issues with drug addiction. Do the capsules help them in the beginning of pulling off sugar because it's an addiction? Does it make it easier to get through that part in the beginning where you're going through an addiction and sugar withdrawal makes you crazy? Does it help you with that?
Well, fundamentally, what we're doing is treating the addiction by eliminating the reward. And so you'll, and all the people who are on or who are going to come on and bring some of our old real weight faithful successful people will tell you that they suddenly didn't want this 2 slices of bread before night. They didn't want the ice cream. They just didn't want it anymore because the reward wasn't there. So that's the fundamental underpinning of real weight, is that we're stopping the addiction. Now, all of the other benefits of reducing your burden of heart disease or arteriosclerosis in all the blood vessels is by getting your instantaneous blood sugar after meals and your average blood sugar down, then you're going to get healthy. So we love to see people lose weight. I mean, everybody wants to talk about it. And we don't often enough talk about being healthy because that takes a little time. I mean, and it's really a prevention. If I tell you, you know, Ron, you're going to, most of the people your age have already had a stent or had a heart attack and had a stent and are on Lipitor and with all its side effects and all the rest. So being healthier is not as instantaneous as losing weight.
Right, right. And this is exactly what I wanted to ask you this question, because when it comes to real weight, I've done all the research I possibly can. We've talked to you 4 or 5 different times. And I see a lot of people talking about real weight, talking about, oh, it's a weight loss program, weight loss pill, weight loss, weight loss, weight loss. But I'm trying to make people understand it's so much more than weight loss. This, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Lundell, but I don't believe that real weight was developed for weight loss. That's not what it was developed for. That might be a byproduct of it, but I don't think that's why it was put together, was it?
No, it's put it together for all the reasons that I made a great living for 25 years fixing blood vessels that were ruined by sugar. So next,
so
the next 50 years of my life are going to be dedicated to helping more people get on real weight and stop that injury so you don't need a dramatic event like a coronary bypass or a stroke or a heart attack or your leg cut off.
Exactly. So real weight gets in your system and it helps you click that thing in your brain that pretty much stops your desire for the sugars. And when you stop the desires for the sugars, something else kicks in and goes, maybe you need to start eating better. Maybe you need to start walking. Maybe you have some kind of focal point now that can change. And through the process of real weight, and you better and you start focusing on those sugars, getting rid of that. When that happens, do they need to go on a maintenance program with real weight or keep taking it the same way? Does it go from 4 capsules to 2? How does that work?
It works like any addiction. I'm a carbohydrate addict. My name is Dwight. I'm a carbohydrate addict. I always will be a carbohydrate addict. You go to AA, that's a lifetime deal.
Yeah, okay.
Drug treatment, a lifetime deal. So I'm always an addict. Have I changed? Have I become more educated? Have I learned how to eat better and exercise a little differently or at all? Yes, and that's helped me. But I'm still an addict. If I go and eat a double scoop down at 31 Flavors, I'm really gonna get a buzz.
Yes, you are. And I'll share something with you and everyone else here. Here a couple of years ago, we had a terrible hurricane come through. I'm in Houston, Texas. We were knocked out of power for about 7 to 10 days. We had no power. We have an electric grill. I was cooking on the grill outside, the proteins and all of that. And it was hot. It was in the summertime in Houston. It was hot. So we got in the car and we went riding around because we thought that there was power on in places. Well, there was. So we wanted to go in where there was air conditioning. And where did we go? We went to this place called IHOP. At that point in my life, Dr. Lundell, I had cut out all sugars in my entire system for about 7 or 8 months. Completely got off of it. No whites, no breads, no rice, no sugar, no nothing. Well, stupid me goes into IHOP. And I said, well, I want to try some pancakes. And I was told, no, don't do it. Don't do it. I said, I'm going to do it. So I did it. I'm going to tell you what happened to me that day. We left from IHOP went right to the next parking lot over and went to Lowe's because Lowe's had their AC running. And all I wanted to do was go in there and get some AC all day. Dr. Lundell, I had to severely go find where they had those chairs and their outdoor furniture set up because I had to go sit down. And the reason I had to go sit down because I was dizzy as could be, couldn't get my vision to work correctly, and I literally thought I was having a heart attack. We sat in Lowe's for about an hour, and I was drinking water before I could get up and get out of that store and come home. That's what happened to me.
Your blood sugar probably was 200 or 230 or 240 to get dizzy and blurred vision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So never again in my life, ever. I learned my lesson that day. That day. So been clear of it, clean of it ever since. But I am telling you, I can't wait to try real weight because as you just stated, once you are, you are. You know, so I can't wait to try it. And with that said, I want to ask Miss Shelley if she would unmute, please.
Okay.
And I know you have, and I know I have. And if we don't have an answer, we don't have an answer. But do you know when it's going to ship out?
It is due on our receiving dock. Let's see, what's today? Wednesday.
Tomorrow,
due
right?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
As soon as it hits our dock, we're going to start sticking it in envelopes and shipping it out. I've got a whole box of bubble mailers right here waiting on. So fingers crossed, tomorrow we will start shipping real weight.
We are at the mercy of the shipping people now.
Hey, we're gonna have all hands on deck. As soon as that gets here, everybody that's not doing something on at that moment will be stuffing envelopes with real weight.
There you go. Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Shelley, because I know and I didn't mean to do that to you, but I knew you already knew
Okay.
that. So, and I wanted to bring that up because I can see it in the text. I got people sending me private text in the text because they don't want to see people asking me, but that's why I asked the question. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Lundell, as always, sir, I'm going to go through some of these questions that I have in the text messaging, and I'm going to see. You're the expert. I'm definitely not. One of the questions says that he's a food prepper. He food preps every day. And is lard, using real lard, is that superior to grapeseed oil and olive oil?
It's going to taste better.
Mm-hmm.
But the grapeseed oil and the olive oil are not, they're not full of omega-6 the same way that soybean oil and corn oil are. So I would say that they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they're said to be healthy, but for me, I use ghee, which is clarified butter, to cook whenever I'm cooking meat or put something in the frying pan. I use ghee, which is clarified butter.
Can you spell that, please?
G-E-E.
G-E-E.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a clarified butter, correct?
Correct. It's got a very high smoke point, so you can throw your steaks in there. See, some of them cooking olive oil, if the temperature gets too high, it gets degraded a little bit. And I don't know the truth about grapeseed, but once again, these are both fall in the category of seed oil. So I would stick with the saturated fat, the lard and the butter and the clarified butter.
Okay.
Coconut
fantastic.
oil. Coconut oil is also very good for cooking.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Shelley.
What do you think? How do you feel about MCT oil?
What kind of oil?
MCT.
Oh, okay. That's the medium chain triglyceride. And it's wonderful stuff because it can be turned very quickly by your body into ketone bodies, which is way better to have energy. So I've never cooked with it because I've always had it powdered to put in my protein shake.
Mhm.
And but if I can tell you one thing, Shelley, put it in another order.
Yeah, I like using the MCT oil. It does have a lower flash point. You've got to cook a little cooler, because I don't know, it'll burn real easy. But I do like cooking with the MCT oils.
Good.
Great,
Good.
great.
So
Most,
for
most
all
of
of you
the
that,
most of the MTCs are coconut oil anyway, so that's great.
yeah, so all of you that keep thinking that the extra virgin olive oil is good, and it probably is. I'm not saying bad about it, but that's what I use as well. Okay, but not anymore. I'm using ghee or MCT oil. I'm going to find it, and that's what I'm going to start using. Next question, Dr. Lundell. When you start taking the real weight and you're taking 4 capsules a day, is it going to affect your cravings for sugar so much that you're not going to eat fruit anymore?
No,
Okay.
it isn't.
Okay. All right.
This is going to help you stop at 1 potato chip instead of a whole bag.
Okay. What, what was that? What was that commercial? I bet you can't eat just one.
You bet you can't eat just one.
Well, I'm going through the questions. I'm looking as we speak here. Oh my gosh. It is a blast, pun intended. Okay, here we go. I missed pre-order. Okay, I missed pre-order. When will it be available to get? You can order it now. You can go into the shopping area and you can go click the big box that says health and wellness. And it's the first box you see. It's a bottle. It says real weight. You can go order it. My lard has beef tallow in it. How do you feel about this beef tallow thing?
Well, that's the same thing. That's just beef fat, and that's fine.
Okay.
That's the same thing. Well, lard is generally from a pig, but beef fat is the same.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Is avocado oil good?
Yes, it also has a high flash point and is healthier than way healthier than the corn oil.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm at the end now. Oh wait, there's more. Hold on, we just have more. Are we talking 30? Okay. So, and I'm sure it's going to be when we send it to you, the information will be there. But there's a question that says, so do we take it 30 minutes before we eat? Do we take it right when we eat? What is that? What is that protocol?
Well, 30 minutes has been our recommendation because that allows it to get in the system and get into the cells and be ready to work. So,
Okay.
but it's not. You don't have to set your stopwatch.
Right,
so
right.
there's some flexibility.
Okay. Well, as always, Dr. Lundell, again, I want to thank you so very much for spending your time with us each and every Wednesday, every 2 weeks. I can't wait to see you again in 2 weeks from today, and I can't wait to have more people on in 2 weeks. I mean, we're in the middle of a Wednesday, and there's 69 people here in the middle of the day on a Wednesday. So I know that most of you don't have jobs. But I just want to say thank you so much for spending your time. And I really want to thank each and every one of you guys for being here today. I am a firm believer that I believe we have something on our hands that can truly help thousands of people. And you now have in your back office a link that has attached to it that you can literally send the real weight information to anybody you want to send it to, and they can come on board for free, and they can attend these things every Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Lundell and gather the information like each and every one of you, because I'm going to tell you, you guys have been here every time we've had Dr. Lundell, and before we had Dr. Lundell, and even a little bit after, everybody was coining real weight as a weight loss program. a weight loss pill. That's really not what it is. It's even bigger than that. Even though that's a huge byproduct of it, it's so big what we have with Real Weight. And there are so many people that need this product. There's so many people that could absolutely use it to help them. I firmly believe we all need to get on board and share this with as many people as we absolutely possibly can. Absolutely. If you've ever had a giving heart and truly wanted to help people, here you go. We have Real Weight. If you've ever looked for something that's going to help you, because I don't take metformin anymore. I'm done with it. And I don't have any issues. But what I want to tell you is this. If you're a person that feels like you're a sugar addict and you're having a hard time and you haven't ordered Real Weight yet, you need to. You need to order Real Weight. What do you have to lose? That's the question. You know,
I'm hoping to lose a couple of meds.
yeah, right. You know, we go through life with this thing, but what if? What if? What if you started on Real Weight? What if you started killing your cravings for sugar? What if that led you down another road where you started losing weight and getting healthier? And what if you took that information that happened to you and gave it to thousands of others to help them? That's who we are. That's what we do. Right, Dr. Lundell?
Absolutely. Y'all can save more lives than I ever did if we get 1 million people on Real Weight.
I agree. 100%. Well, thank you, sir. And I want to thank each and every one of you. We spent an hour. I didn't think we would, but we did. Thank each and every one of you, and we will start shipping. I'm hoping and praying, all fingers and toes crossed, on Friday. That's what I'm hoping for. So y'all have a fantastic day. Have a blessed day. Thank you, Dr. Lundell. Thank you, Shelley. And thank each and every one of you guys for being here today.
Thanks so much.